Uh, Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. In this today's session, we are going to discuss about how generative AI is actually unlocking the growth in healthcare and life sciences. You might see an acronym, or you might heard an acronym HCLS, healthcare and life sciences. We might be using it, so don't get bothered upon that particular thing. Um, Today we are two speakers. I'm Nitin. I lead AI services team focused on healthcare, life sciences, and generative AI. And along with that, we got like one of our key thought leader in that space, one of my favorite, Shweta. Thank you so much, Shweta, for accepting that invite. And definitely, Shweta will be talking a lot about strategy, about how industry is evolving, and we have a huge session around that particular data point. So agenda for today will be, we will be discussing about these five things, starting with an industry evolution and changing landscape with generative AI. Healthcare life science is evolving a lot. You will see that, okay, yes, how it has been evolved from last few years, starting last 5 years or 6 years to last 10 years. And then we will be seeing that, okay, yes, how the future looks like. Along with that, we will be digging deep a little bit into the implementation strategy, how the customers are actually evolving, what kind of a problems that we are solving, and so on and so forth. Then a quick live demo with GenAI. That's one of my favorite piece. And finally, we will be having an open Q&A session. So without taking any time, I will pass the baton to Shweta to start with industry evolution and the first point. Shweta, over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for the invitation. Thanks for everyone for joining today. I'm Shweta Manyar, and let's level set a little bit about what we're seeing in the industry overall. So, first, let me start large. Healthcare and life sciences stands as a major priority at Google Cloud due to the sheer potential for transformative impact within these sectors. Um, excuse me. Google Cloud, we've got advanced capabilities in data storage and analytics and AI, and that all offers the ability or the power to revolutionize healthcare and life sciences, or our acronym HCLS, as Nitin was alluding to. And by providing secure, scalable, and HIPAA compliant solutions, at Google Cloud, we're aiming to break down these information silos, facilitate collaboration, and drive innovation within healthcare and life science industries. And our goal is to harness the potential, the vast potential of technology to ultimately improve health outcomes and enhance the quality of life for individuals worldwide. So, as I had mentioned, healthcare and life sciences is a priority at Google. And within Google Cloud, we're working to help organizations around the world to digitally transform and reimagine business through data powered innovation. You're going to hear that term a lot in the way that we talk about how we can help enable and enhance this industry. We've got inside of our organization, we have dedicated healthcare industry experts, as well as developing a number of first to market healthcare specific tools and services. But we also have a vast focus in healthcare and life sciences across the Alphabet family, which is why I wanted to take a moment to highlight this particular slide, because healthcare and life sciences is a very familiar and deeply focused industry for us, not just within Google Cloud, but across the Google and Alphabet family. And it is this combined focus, expertise, our partnerships that allow us to develop tools that are specific for this industry. So I'd like to maybe use this moment to share some information that's hot off the press from earlier this week, where we announced Vertex AI Search for Healthcare, which is a first of its kind. Vertex AI Search Healthcare Search is a search engine that's specifically tailored to healthcare data. It's powered by generative AI, and it's going to allow medical professionals to search through vast volumes of patient notes, of clinical data, and other unstructured medical documents. It can understand complex medical concepts and terminology with a high degree of accuracy. And it's medically tuned. Generative AI enabled capability that includes FHIR and clinical notes. And now this healthcare product is integrated with MedLM, which is our medically tuned large language model. So it provides even better question and answer across medical terminology. There's so many acronyms and jargon and medical information. So this medically tuned search, and incorporating the large language model MedLM, is very groundbreaking and meaningful and a first of its kind for the industry. A few of the features that I'd like to point out is, of course, the search and question answering. So you can use natural language queries and get precise answers extracted from relevant medical documents. There's data source integration, as I had mentioned. We have the medical language models with MedLM, but the benefits for the industry is going to be about faster information retrieval, the potential to reduce administrative burden. You can potentially streamline data search processes, and clinicians and caregivers can spend less time on data sifting and more time focusing on patients. And this can also be used, Vertex AI's healthcare search can also be used to enable researchers to quickly find insights and patterns from large healthcare data sets. So, I want to spend the next couple of slides talking a little bit about how we're seeing the industry evolve. I'll spend one slide with healthcare, another on the life sciences side, and a little bit around what we are seeing from the outside as we view the industry as a whole, and how that's informing where we're focusing our time, our efforts to support the industry. Providers and payers within healthcare, they are laser focused on four key strategic priority areas. And we are aligning ourselves to these imperatives. With digital experiences and growth on the left side, you'll see digital integration is it's going to be paramount for healthcare and for the healthcare and landscape. I just mentioned a bit about just our announcements from earlier this week. Members and patients, they are expecting retail-like transparency, seamless, user-friendly experiences that are going to enhance their engagement, but also their satisfaction. There's this retail transparency that I mentioned about a patient is like a customer, and you should treat them as such. With care delivery transformation, hospital systems and clinics, they're facing unique operational challenges, particularly around the efficient care delivery. Gen AI holds an immense potential in improving productivity among nurses and other caregivers to enable them to concentrate then on the customer or patient facing tasks. So that's how you can then provide that personalized care. As it relates to sustainable and efficient operations in the blue column, with the mounting pressure of consumer demands and industry dynamics, payers and providers are going to continue to actively seek ways to automate and streamline those operations across the board. And that's a perfect situation and a great opportunity where Gen AI emerges as a powerful tool in addressing these challenges and thereby enhancing some of those efficiencies and sustainability. And lastly, and very importantly, is going to be around our member and patient engagement and marketing. Gen AI introduces groundbreaking capabilities where we could very much focus on how do you highly target and personalize your initiatives and efficiently and at scale. So, as generative AI technology continues to advance, its impact on health operations is undoubtedly going to expand, where we can work towards a future where healthcare organizations are not only going to deliver exceptional care, but also optimizing their resources and ensuring long-term health of patients. On the life sciences side, there is a lot going on to look out for this year and into 2025. And these are the global trends that are shaping and sharpening our focus and our pillars. I'll share maybe my perspective in a few buckets because life sciences is defined as a very broad category. Life sciences is pharmaceuticals, biotech, devices, medical manufacturers. So I'll break it down a little bit just to share a few of the trends that we're seeing that's really shaping the way that we're looking at opportunities for AI and Gen AI. In the pharmaceutical space, while we may not see many fully developed AI developed drugs approved in 2024 and next year in 25, their presence in the pipeline is increasing. And there's also an increased focus on rare diseases that have historically been overlooked by big pharma. Drug pricing and healthcare policy are continuing to remain top of mind for these organizations. And that forces companies to try to strike a balance between innovation and affordability. That leads us into this beyond the pill concept. This is a term that's been very common in the pharmaceutical industry for years. But in this year, we're seeing, the idea of long-acting injectables, implantable drug delivery devices, turning traditionally injected medications into oral formulations. All of this is going to then allow for additional data to be captured. This is why this is important to us. In a biotechnology context, um, with this increasing use of multiomics, genomics, metabolomics, proteomics, ML algorithms are going to be crucial to decipher the complex interplay of some of these biological systems that could lead to new insights into diseases and potentially even treatment approaches. In biotech, precision medicine has focused historically on cancer treatments. And now we're starting to see this more broadly applied to autoimmune diseases, heart conditions, and even actually tailoring drug treatments based on an individual's metabolism. And in clinical applications, you should expect to see, we are expecting to see a continued clinical trial successes using CRISPR-like technologies. So while full-scale treatments might be a few years off, this year and 2025 is going to be pivotal in proving their effectiveness. And the amount of data power needed to run these continue to grow exponentially. And then lastly, let's talk about the device side and medtech. There's been a lot of announcements just in 2024 alone. Wearables are going mainstream with continuous tracking, not just for your steps and your heart rate, but blood pressure, sugar levels. The FDA just approved the first over the counter continuous blood sugar monitoring device, and even detecting early signs of heart problems. More wearables, more data. How do you make sense of that information? That also comes in play when you're talking about the perfect match smart diagnostics. AI powered image analysis tools have received a lot of attention in the last couple of years, and these algorithms are promising faster, more accurate diagnoses from medical scans and potentially aiding in the earlier detection of cancer and other diseases. And surgical robots, they're getting even more precise thanks to AI. Surgeons are going to have better vision and control during complex procedures, which means potentially safer or less invasive surgeries. There's a lot of innovation in that particular space. And everything underlying healthcare and life sciences is underpinned with an increased, as data and information becomes more connected, cybersecurity continues to be a hot topic and a top priority for the healthcare and life sciences industry. Because of all these trends, and areas of growth where data is going to be the pinnacle, you can see how where we're seeing the industry shifting and where there is focus from the Google Cloud perspective. So let's move on and let's move to the next slide as we get to how we see the changing landscape with Gen AI as it relates to healthcare and life sciences. So we're on the cusp of a paradigm shift in healthcare and life sciences, which is fueled by the explosive potential of generative AI. And Gen AI has the power to revolutionize healthcare and life sciences as we started out. It can accelerate research, improve diagnostics, personalize treatments, streamline regulatory processes. The possibilities are endless. But while there are still challenges, it really does offer the potential of an unprecedented tool to tackle some of the hairiest global healthcare and life science concerns and pave the way for a much healthier future. It's not just about another iteration of AI, it is actually a leap in our capabilities as around the world. We can create these new outputs. You're going to hear Nathan talk about, right, these not just from a language perspective, but images, design, simulations. There's so much potential. And how do we actually apply this properly into our industry of healthcare and life sciences? Before I go on, let me also just highlight this stat on this slide is really amazing to me that we have fundamentally shifted our entire world by 10 years because of the automation that is going to happen with generative AI. But what makes a good Gen AI use case in our industry for healthcare and life sciences? How do you know when is a good time, or what's a good use case, or what's a good problem to identify? So there's a few things that I would say for healthcare and life sciences as common points when I'm talking with partners and customers, etc. The potential for creativity is going to be one of a very good first way of thinking. Is this a good opportunity for a Gen AI use case? Think about if you're looking to solve for creating new medical device components, or you want to generate medical images. You should think about the availability of data. Gen AI models require a significant amount of training data. So think about problems where you have an ample amount of data that exists. I always go straight to medical images. There should be measurable outcomes. You want to make sure Gen AI models work really well when they can be easily modified. You want to also focus on a need for optimization, streamlining these processes. Um, Gen AI can excel at optimizing existing workflows. And last, and I would say just as important as any of the others, you want to choose a use case in healthcare and life sciences that's going to add value to your business potentially. You want to look where it brings genuine improvement. It could be the idea that in the long term, it could be reducing costs, but how about also increasing accuracy, unlocking insights that you couldn't otherwise, or the most important, directly improving patient care. So, with that, let's talk about how generative AI is driving new opportunities. We see that there's operational efficiencies, there's cost savings, there's value creation, as I had mentioned. But who is actually going to use these, and how should we think through these opportunities? Well, for example, in the left box here, you have an analyst that is looking at complex data that's intuitively accessible. That can encompass a multitude of use cases. It could be uh, somebody who's trying to accelerate their research. So finding complex subject domain information across many disparate sources and then synthesizing those findings. Another use case in that left box could be in the regulatory compliance automation, where you can interpret regulatory policy and documents to identify potential violations relative to operating procedures or any outliers. And of course, there's always yeah, improving time to value can also include ba- uh, basic, but not so basic, business process automation, where that can be an automation of information retrieval and providing a recommendation in something that's considered to be a recurring business process. But in addition to these examples, there's a lot of opportunities that we see with online interactions in the healthcare and life science space. When you're talking about customer service, there are opportunities not only um, from a patient and clinician when you think about customer service, but think about in a life science or pharmaceutical context, we have organizations that are trying to figure out how to better deploy the right sales rep to the right doctor, the right medical affairs person to the right thought leader. There are a lot of opportunities or interfaces that we are looking at. And then, of course, customer service also includes looking at how our health plan providers interact with with their members. This also allows for new content generation, so it allows for the creatives and the marketing that I had mentioned earlier, as well as the ability to customize foundation models for those who are experts and the AI practitioners sitting inside the healthcare and life sciences companies. So, with that, I will move to the next slide on how we are looking at organizations who are realizing significant value right now on thinking through What are the real applications of using Gen AI in a healthcare and life sciences context? Here is just a handful of ideas to get you all thinking about what are some opportunities, but also I'll give you a couple of examples as you take a look at this slide. We have collaborative projects across the entire industry in healthcare and life sciences. The Mayo Clinic has partnered with Google Cloud on on using Gen AI to explore clinical workflows. So that includes AI powered tools to summarize patient medical records and assist with some of the clinical documentation. Bayer Pharmaceuticals is working with Google to apply generative AI to drug discovery processes and how they hope to accelerate clinical trial processes, discover novel drug targets, and support some of the translation of different research findings. HCA Healthcare, one of the largest healthcare providers, they're collaborating with us on using Gen AI to transcribe doctor patient conversations and streamlining that process of creating detailed medical notes. So, the paradigm shift for leveraging Gen AI in a variety of use cases in the near term, in the medium term, and in the long term, it's coming. And it's going to force different organizations that are not taking the time to understand the implications of this technology out. And so organizations right now are looking at within healthcare's life sciences are looking at how do they future proof themselves through strategy, through development with this technology, but also through talent acquisition. We see Gen AI holds an immense promise to deliver faster diagnoses, personalized treatments, and life saving breakthroughs. But it really is up to all of us as leaders in healthcare and life sciences and technology. You are all taking the time to come and listen to us today to become more educated. So we appreciate that. To harness this potential for a healthier and more equitable tomorrow is going to be the goal that we all share. But how do you turn that into reality? And I think this is where I will pass it off to my colleague Nitin, who is going to guide us through how do you craft a winning implementation strategy using this groundbreaking technology. So with that, Nitin, I'll pass it to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shweta. I think this was super helpful to actually understand how this industry is evolving, what kind of a use cases that we are focusing on, and actually how the generative AI is adding value across the supply chain of those use cases. If we quickly discuss about that, okay, hey, what kind of few implementation strategy that one can focus on while solving these kind of problems. This is like one of the framework. We are not saying this is the only framework, but this is exactly a lots or range of problems that we see is being solving with the existing tools and technologies and models and APIs and so on and so forth. So four key categories that are coming out from these implementations. The first thing is exploration, augmentation, scaling, and disruption. So the exploration, the core idea behind this one is where you are solving a routine problem. You're solving a problem at scale. You're saying is that, okay, hey, the model is available. I don't want to build a huge competitive advantage, but I want to support my existing processes to make them more efficient with a very targeted and focused execution. The risk is low, the Gen AI capabilities and the skills required for that particular implementation is already low. Some of the use cases that you might focus on, for example, non-critical summarization of the physician notes, or if you want to say that, okay, hey, I want to analyze what kind of a feedback a patient is actually providing to your insurance providers or to your radiologist, to your pharmacist, whatever the kind of a care that you're actually providing, translations or a transliteration. These are some of the use cases where the humans are already added into the loop, and we are providing them support so that we will be able to make those processes more efficient. If we take one step forward, we say, like for example, the augmentation that we will be started focusing on, hey, can we actually customize these kind of implementation to a certain extent? We have already our defined success metric. We need to achieve to a certain level. Along with that, we need to approach this problem into a systematic fashion. Some of the pre-built solutions like document AI or conversation AI or talking about Vertex AI search and conversation for health, that's definitely built on top of our existing standalone APIs like Gemini models, ImageGen, or Chirp can be used for that kind of an augmentation. Some of the common problems that you might be seeing over here that, okay, hey, can we create some initial documentation? If we talk about that, for an example, can we actually start talking about building something, personalization or personalized API on top of my existing systems? Now, if we talk about that, okay, can we scale this particular system to a next level? Can we extrapolate that initial success that we got as a part of it? And the question comes in, yes, you can do it, but that will require more AI skills. Along with that, the risk might start going up. One of like a common implementation we started seeing is around like an RLHF, reinforcement learning based human feedback, or we start talking it about RLAIF, reinforcement learning based AI feedback, or DSS, that is a distillation step by step. Multiple options where you say that, okay, I want to use a smaller model instead of using a larger model. Or if you say that, okay, for an example, hey, I want to make a trade off between my cost versus impact, and so on and so forth. Few common use cases that we started seeing around is this a document generation. The document can be like a study protocol document, it can be like a patient permission labeling, PIL, and so on and so forth. Along with that, building Q&A bots that will be actually grounded towards a very set of data points, so that it will be only generating a response in that particular horizon without going here and there, and so on and so forth. And finally, we're talking about the fourth pillar, that is disruption. The disruption will be primarily focused on IP generation. Can I actually tune my own model from scratch? That is like a full fine tuning. Can I actually train my own model from scratch based on my data? That's about state of the art theory, where you are actually solving an innovative problems that cannot be solved with an existing models or existing approaches, or you want to customize to a certain extent to your own data, so that you will be able to generate that kind of competitive advantage. So definitely the costs and risks will go high, the AI skills requirement will go high, computation requirement for using GPUs and TPUs will significantly go up, and so on and so forth. But definitely each and every approach comes up with their own trade-offs, with their own pros and cons. But the point is, there is no shortcut for this story. You need to go step by step. You cannot say that, okay, from day one I want to build my own model, till the point you have explored the existing technology and you say that, okay, hey, these are the limitations, this is the reason, this is the business case, and that's why I want to build it with my success stories, and so on and so forth. Few use cases that we started seeing is about like building scaling modeling. For an example, if you want to build like a protein folding or inverse folding, little bit around like a molecular analysis or structure estimations. If we take this particular framework to a next level, that, okay, how the organization's AI journey looks like, this is like a 4-step process where we have seen our customers working across a Google Cloud products and with us. The first thing is about building a very basic platform. The platform, you can call it as a playground, you can call it as like an explorations, where the teams will actually start running some initial experimentation to explore this Gen AI technology. This particular platform will be data compliant, compliant to the regulatory and as well as compliant measures. HIPAA compliance might be like a one of the framework. Definitely, it will be changing from one region to another region. What kind of a data governance, what kind of a model governance can be there, what kind of an IT scaling and access controls that we can actually build, and so on and so forth. But the idea is that, okay, hey, can we provide a single source of truth and a one platform to whole organization to start implementing and start exploring this technology? The next level, when we actually go, it's about like a use case identification. The use case identification will be like that, okay, hey, what kind of a use cases that will be impacting my AI strategy, what kind of a trade-off that I need to make on risk and as well as opportunity cost. How can I formulate a business use case? Can I actually create a centralized talent pool and manage a talent in such a way that I will be able to focus my energy on few prioritized use cases and generate some initial successes as a part of my organization? And after that, we start talking about operationalization, productionization, where a few more concepts like LLM ops, large language model ops, or Gen AI ops, like launch models, talking about explorations on initial evaluations, feedback loop, subject matter expertise reviews, evaluations across the benchmarkings, responsible AI. Some of these concepts start coming to the picture. And that's where you start talking about, hey, this is not a data science project. Rather, we need to take it and scale it to a larger set of users. The users can be patients, users can be radiologists, those can be pharmacists, those can be physicians. It actually depends upon your patient journey, care journey, or a user journey that you will be focusing and targeting on. And finally, we're talking about scaling, where you start democratizing these kind of GenAI processes, like decentralize those kind of a talent development. You already started getting some approvals from the regulatory and compliance measures. You start selecting those kind of implementations use cases. Now you already evaluated that, okay, this is where I should be selecting this technology or not. This is how I should be calculating and evaluating the performance. This is exactly how I should be doing a quality assurance for my feedback loop for either RLHF or RLAIF. So multiple decision making that you will be making. But the point is, whenever we start solving these kind of problems, it's never a problem of a one single model. It becomes a problem for a larger platform. Where we talk about how the data integration will happen, where the data will be processed, how the access controls will be developed, how the model development will be happening, how the model scaling will be happening, how the model will be governed and approved, and how it will be scaled. If we actually manifest that kind of flow in our portfolio, it looks very much the similar. So we are starting with the base layer of a cloud infrastructure where you will be getting some of the best accelerators in the world, state of the art accelerators, GPUs and TPUs, where you can actually start building up your own models if you want to. On top of it, if you go into an abstraction layer, we're talking about Model Garden that contains like an open source models or a third party models or a partner models and including Google models, because it might be possible that while solving a problem, and it's a very common thing, while solving a problem, you might be using different kind of a models. Few of them might be a proprietary model like Gemini, Gemini Ultra 1.5, or might be like using some sort of an open models like Llama, Mixtral, Claude 2, and so on and so forth, like a partner model where you will be actually solving an end-to-end problem with right trade-offs. And then if you go one level up to the abstraction, we're talking about search and conversation, where you do not need to build a lot of these kind of capabilities by yourself. You can actually start using our products, including only the data in a very governed fashion, in a safe environment, and you can start getting value out of it. And finally, one more top abstraction layer, it's about AI solutions, about like document AI, contact center AI that can directly be connected. These are some of the turnkey solutions that are directly available in this particular domain, in healthcare life sciences domain, that's being tuned on that kind of a data points like EHR, electronic health records, talking about like medical imaging, and so on and so forth. And the topmost, you can see like the Gemini models that will be focused on Google Cloud and Workspace. These can like a plug and play solutions as well. For example, for developer productivity, you're talking about, even sometimes you talk about, for example, market and creative assistance, and so on and so forth. Multiple use cases might be coming into that particular domain, but that's the topmost abstraction layer that's available that you can plug and play and can start utilizing it. If we quickly discuss about that, okay, what kind of a foundations models are available? We typically gets a question, and Shweta rightly mentioned, Google is investing heavily in healthcare life sciences as a domain. So definitely a lot of foundation models like Gemini 1.0 Pro, 1.5, talking about some other foundation models like Palm models, ImageGen, Chirp, Cody, different models are available. But the top value coming out from the healthcare life sciences domain is the domain specific models, and one of our key offering is MedLM, that is a med language models that contains different kind of capabilities. You can process your text, you can process your medical imaging. It's a multi-model. Recently we launched about that, okay, you can actually ingest the chest x-ray and you can generate an insights from it. So those kind of capabilities already exist that you can actually plug and play. You can start exploring it. To a certain extent, you can also tune the Gemini models, Palm 2 models. You can actually tune your Cody models, like your code structures and so on and so forth, in such a way that you will be able to add a feedback and tune it as per your requirements. And then you can select the right partner ecosystem and the open ecosystem, like a Llama 2 models, Falcon, Claude 2, Mixtral, across various time zones or various what I should say geographies that will be focused on that particular pieces or a particular problem statement. This is a huge ecosystem that currently exists. You can explore the right model, you can explore the right ecosystem with the right orchestration layer and connect it, so that you will be following a very similar step what we have seen as a success story across our customers, like our foundations, then use case identification, experimentations, then operationalization and productionizations, and finally scaling and the launch patterns with their end patients and their end users. Just to give you like a, this is a very recent announcement that we actually made as a part of HIMSS as well. It's about low code developer platform focused primarily on conversation and search. This is primarily focused on healthcare, where a lot of data points already available and tuned for medical related purposes like EHR, scan documents, and other clinical data, and that can provide you deeper medical understanding. It's directly available. So a lot of the times it's very common to see that okay, a lot of other models may not understand very well the medical terminologies. A very common use case that we understood that okay, hey, for different kind of a personas like physicians versus patients versus pharmacists, you need to generate the insights in their terminologies. You need to either make it a little bit complex, either you need to make it a little bit simple depending upon the target persona. So in that case, you need to understand, or the at least algorithm need to understand all those complexities on the time. If I'm saying is that okay, hey, I'm facing some medical symptoms, or for an example any medical condition, I just need to understand it's is it something complex term, or is it just plain headache. So to make that thing understand, your algorithm must be understanding all those basic terminologies, medical terminologies, and generating that kind of an insights without hallucinating while generating those responses. So definitely when talking about those things, some of the key ideas, some of the key features that we'll be focusing, it's about grounding and it's about connectors. So that can you actually connect your EHR data? Can you actually connect your HLV7 versus the FHIR data? What kind of a data interoperability that will be coming into the picture? Healthcare data engine might be like another option that will be acting as a single stop shop where you can connect various kind of a data points in different protocols and then ingest it back to these kind of an algorithms and connect it. So different kind of algorithms, different kind of use cases and product catalogs are available. It will be actually tweaked, it will be changing as per the requirements. Just to give you a quick reference that okay, yes, how you can reimagine your patient journey. This is only a one example, but it will be actually split it across various sections and to show you that okay, what kind of an implementation, what kind of a strategies that you can actually go for. So if you're talking about search and discovery, take an example that okay, hey, Sally is a 30-year-old woman and she wants to get some medical care and wants to understand that okay, what kind of an options, doctors, locations, insurance plan is available for this particular patient. So Sally will start doing the research. The first entry point will be some sort of a chatbot. The chatbot that will be helping Sally understanding the insurance plan about uh, about in scope, about as well as out scope. It primarily about that okay, what kind of physicians, what kind of clinicians are actually available in that particular insurance plan, and then we're talking about that okay, selecting the right physician, selecting the right doctor, specialist, whosoever it can be, so that the Sally will be able to make that particular decision as per her comfort level. After that, during the coordinating the care, we're talking about the doctors will be able to process various informations available about the patient. In this case, it will be the Sally, her past medical imaging, about past vitals, about past physician notes or medical notes, and in such a way that okay, we need a system that can support physicians to make any decision. In a loose term, we can call it as a CDSS, Clinical Decision Support System, in such a way that okay, it can actually provide you the next best action. It can also provide you about that okay, hey, what kind of a next questions that you can actually ask. It can provide you that support as a physician in such a way that it's not diagnosing it, it's only making a physician more efficient and make like supporting them to make any decision. And then if a Sally wants to provide like a needs to get some virtual assistance, they can go and get it from telehealth. If we take it to the next stage, we're talking about during the care, about, for an example, proactive wellness alert, talking about real-time availability of the nurses or a physician or any sort of a monitoring, so that our data will be actually processed, the questions can be actually asked, and in such a way we can actually create a temporal graph on top of it that this is how disease has been evolved, this is how the conditions has been evolved, has been changed, and that kind of care can be provided during that particular event. And finally, when the Sally is going back home, they need to file some claims or they need to process some claims. They need to ask for like a post care, what kind of a things that I should do. Can I actually track my activity through my wearables and so on and so forth. So what kind of a things, what kind of value that we can add during that particular post care, what kind of a claims that we can generate? Can we automatically process all those details? Can we automatically process all those invoices? Can we extract that okay, what kind of an ICD codes that should be attached to those kind of a conditions? Is this right, this is not? So definitely it will be both on payer side as well as on provider side as well as on patient side. But that's the journey, that's the consolidation we are talking about. This is a brief journey that okay, one example that we can actually show. The question is that okay, hey Nitin, how much of this is actually real? what can we do, what can we not do. So let's quickly see one kind of a demo that we want to show it to you. For an example, here is a one use case. This is a website. It can be implemented for any of those website, nothing confidential, nothing proprietary, publicly available website, all the details. In this example, we have taken Mayo Clinic as one of the website, and you can actually ask any questions. For an example, you can ask a question, hey, what vaccine is suggested for the COVID-19? What it actually does, it extracts all the details only from these websites, from all the links available, and summarize it for you with grounding that where this particular information is available. You can click on it, it will open a tab, and it will say you that, it can tell you that this is a page. You can actually ask all those details. You can ask a follow-up questions, or you can actually reset it. So just give you an example. If you say that, okay, hey, is COVID vaccine safe for comorbidities? I'm sorry for my spell check, but it's about that. Okay, yes, COVID-19 vaccines are safe for people with existing health conditions. This is the grounding that's available. You click on this thing, and it will open that particular page, and it will give you those details. This is only a one use case where you will be start getting those kind of responses in a very fast fashion, in a very interesting and seamless fashion. The idea behind this kind of a demo is, for an example, if you are actually generating any responses and providing support to your physicians, providing support to your agents, providing support to your care providers in a very regulated fashion. This is an open website, open data sources available, but exactly the same thing can be actually implemented for your regulated data, for your confidential data in a governed fashion with an access control that who can access it and who cannot access it. That's a brief about that how you can actually implement it, what kind of a various strategies that you can go, but it's a process. So let's move and jump to our questions, and let's see that, okay, what kind of a questions that we got. We already passed some of those questions pre-hand, but after that we can be taking like some live questions too. So the first question is, are there any turnkey solutions available today, and how can we leverage CCAI? So definitely talking about these kind of turnkey solutions, like I discussed, there are multiple turnkey solutions available. MedLM is one of our corpus of the data, corpus of the models that you can use it. Uh, Vortex AI search and conversation for health is one of the turnkey solutions that's available. You can use CCAI for any of the use cases with agent assist to provide what kind of information your agents must need to process before providing any responses to your patients. Agents can be your nurses, it can be like any other providers. It actually depends how you're defining your end user and as well as who will be using this particular system. So range of solutions, turnkey solutions are available, and you will be able to process it. Interestingly, if you're talking about one common question that comes while using those solutions, how to process my PHI data and how to process my PII data. So Google has a very strong API called as a DLP, data loss prevention API, that you can make a call to redact that particular data point from any of those systems that will be using it. Otherwise, whenever you will be using any of these Gen AI systems, even if you're tuning any of these kind of models, it will create an adapter layer that will be built on top of the frozen model. That adapter layer will be actually saved and stored in your own environment, that you own it. Then you can delete it whenever you want to, and the base model will not be reading and even understanding any of those kind of data points. Data is, it's in your control. You need to define who can access it, you cannot access it. You can provide a customer encryption key. We call it as a CME key, customer managed encryption key as a technical term. But you can actually encrypt your data even both at rest and as well as transit. So there are a lot of governance models, there are a lot of encryption models, a lot of privacy measures that you can actually do. But this particular platform, it's HIPAA compliant. You can go for it, and you can explore and process your PHI and PI data. If we move to the, okay, this is interesting question. We talk about how does the enterprise data get protected. I already briefly mentioned about it, that, okay, yes, how you can actually process it. You can protect it to a certain extent. I think to an end-to-end extent, you will say this is the priority for healthcare and life sciences. No platform currently exists that cannot protect your enterprise data. Range of customers that Shweta mentioned about, Bayer, HCA, Mayo, Ginkgo, they are using our platforms end to end for some of the most sensitive data available to the world, protected. So I don't think that, okay, that might be a concern, but definitely to make sure that it's actually servicing your needs and as well as helping supporting implementing your use cases. You can go through our terms, you can go through at that product, and you can explore by yourself and decide it by yourself. Next is we have been working with GenAI in healthcare. What was the impact so far? Does it really help in improving patient experience? Shweta, any thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts actually. Thank you for whoever submitted that question. So, measuring the precise impact of Gen AI in healthcare and in life science, it's challenging for a couple of reasons. And this is not unique to our industry. It's because it's early stage, right? The technology, it's still relatively early in stages of development, but also in adoption and implementation. And then there's also a wide range of applications. Uh, Gen AI applications in healthcare and life sciences are incredibly diverse. I've touched upon just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the type of use cases. They can range from analysis to drug design to patient care. So it makes it difficult to measure the overall impact. But there are a few measures or indicators to talk about just as it relates to what's been the impact so far. So some of the quantitative indicators have been that we've seen a lot of increase in publication and patents in this scientific publications and patents relative to Gen AI in healthcare and in life sciences reflects, the interest and investment that healthcare and life sciences are making into this field. There's also investments, venture capital funding in Gen AI for healthcare and life science startups. I see a few here who have attended today. It's a sign of confidence in the technology's potential to transform this particular industry. And another qualitative indicator I would say is adoption. While mainstream adoption is in clinical settings is still limited and starting to grow, the number of pilot projects and proof of concepts and organizations that are trying to understand where the value is for themselves and these implementations are increasing, as Nitin had shared a little bit. And then some of the maybe I would say more qualitative indicators is you're starting to see some drug discovery successes. uh, there are cases where Gen AI contributes to some of the identification of potential drug candidates or accelerating some of the drug development processes. We're seeing opportunity or potential or studies that are showing improved diagnostic accuracies using Gen AI models. Um, you've heard a lot around efficiency gains today. So, time savings, whether that's for healthcare providers or others, thanks to a lot of these um, Gen AI and AI powered tools. And a couple of really specific examples that I can think about in terms of this particular question. Does it really help in improving the experience? I would say that studies have shown that generative AI models have improved the accuracy of being able to detect diseases like breast cancer from mammograms or generating higher quality images with shorter scan times. I think that's already an early indicator of success or improving patient care down the line, at least an indicator of such. Drug discovery, in silico medicine, for those who may know, it's a generative AI company. They've designed novel drug candidates for cancer and for fibrosis, um, using Gen AI as part of their tool set that they have. And so I do think that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of opportunity to continue to have specific measures, but we're certainly seeing the impact moving in the right direction. Thanks for asking this question.
Cool. The next question says, what are some potential challenges or considerations when implementing generative AI in healthcare and life sciences sector, and how are these addressed? Shweta, any thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. And feel free to chime in after I'll share a few thoughts. But so in this new frontier, generative AI is going to have to lead with responsibility as first of mind. We've talked about all the great potential and the great use cases and the applications, but comes with heavy responsibility. This is not responsibility just from the technology side, but it's also for the entire healthcare and life sciences HCLS sector. It is also the investors. It is the entire ecosystem as a whole that has this responsibility and these challenges that we have to think through to uphold this responsibility are going to be a handful that come to mind. Data related challenges, right? Data quality and bias. We have to assume and work through and ensure that the data is reliable and high quality and without bias, in order to have these successful Gen AI models. We have to make sure that the medical data sets do not contain inherent biases, right? Think about it in a healthcare context, data sets that have underrepresenting certain demographics or disease conditions. And then these models that get trained could perpetuate those. And so I think it's really, the terminology, particularly coming from a research background, garbage in, garbage out. And that is going to be, data quality is going to be a key component, of a challenge, and one that we have to be very responsible with. Data interoperability, it's a very fragmented ecosystem. The explainability, I think, is very important in the healthcare context, because a big challenge that I see is not just the technology, but it's also about how do you make sure that, for example, a clinician who is going to be using a Gen AI model to help triage or summarize something for them, that they feel confident and trust the technology and the system, so that can support and they feel confident in the decision and the recommendation that they're making. So I think explainability is going to be key. And there's going to be regulatory scrutiny always, around how do how does this technology play a role within the guardrails and recommendations of regulatory bodies like the FDA. And I'm very pleased to see the FDA is, and even regulatory bodies in Europe and other places, they are working to create their point of view, and they're educating themselves as much as possible, because they're not they realize that this is the path of how we're going to be working as an ecosystem moving forward, and we're working hard to try to educate themselves and understand the implications, for these technologies, and how to safely, and put out a point of view externally. And then there's also ethical considerations, um, making sure that we're using these as an ecosystem as a whole. Uh, it's going to be very crucial. We have to develop these tools using fair principles and without bias. But I actually think with this question, the biggest challenge is actually, among all of those, is going to be cultural. There is a resistance to change. And I think some parts of the ecosystem are going to be more hesitant to adopt AI powered tools, requiring a really big shift in culture, and then ultimately that workflow adoption. So we'll have to see how the next generation of, of nurses, of healthcare providers, of pharmacists, of researchers, how the fact that many of these higher education systems are starting to put AI and ML and even Gen AI as part of their, education and classes that they need to take to understand. It'll be very interesting to see how the next generation of caretakers and researchers in this industry will look at this technology. But this, cultural is certainly a big part of how we need to what we need to address to be able to move forward. Nathan, do you have anything else to add?
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you so much, Shweta. I think I already agreed with all the points that you mentioned. You already covered the ground. Just two more things. The last thing that culturally that you mentioned, change management is a big piece. That okay, hey, this technology is not there to replace you. This technology is actually to empower you and enable you to make better decisions, and sometimes even making your life easier to process and retrieve those information. And one last thing is about the robustness and reliability of those systems. Nobody wants to go back and again improving their prompts if a next version of a model comes in or if a new model comes in. So I feel like that okay, we are actually moving into that particular direction, but still not there yet. And that's another potential challenge. That yes, if anything will be evolved in future, how we will be implementing it and how we will be tweaking our existing systems to to keep it running at a certain level that it's already running on. Cool. Thank you so much, Shweta. I think we got some live questions as well. So let me push some of them. Dave mentioned about maybe missed it, but are there pre-built connectors available to streamline data flow between Gemini and common healthcare data sources? So, Dave, yeah, that exists right now. So, healthcare data engine that you can explore. That is what I should say, out of the box product that provide you a very interesting capability for data interoperability. that can connect with various kind of protocols, various kind of methods, and connect the data at a certain place, HLV7, FHIR, different kind of frameworks, and you can do it. So it's already available. Shweta, any thoughts on that? Anything else?
Nope, that's perfect.
Cool. Uh, Okay, the next question is from Pratik. Also, what's the end goals we are trying to achieve? Talking about the disruption stage. Pratik, interesting question. Just like I mentioned about disruption, it's primarily about creating their own competitive advantage, creating their own IP. If I say that, okay, hey, I want to build my own model, you will not see a lots of those kind of use cases, but few tens of the use cases are currently existing. If you take an example, most of the LLMs and Gen AI is primarily focused on natural language, not very much focused on healthcare. Definitely, Google started working on a lot of those aspects like Vertex AI search and conversation, MedLM. We're moving into that phase, like a MedPalm as a part of MedLM. But definitely, we requires a lots of other use cases. Alpha folding will be another option around it that was very much focused on protein folding. But it's a huge space. If you talk about molecular analysis, talking about processing smile data, if you're talking about like understanding the molecular structures and estimating that whether this is good or not, providing some recommendations, a lot of those kind of capabilities does not exist that requires those kind of custom modeling. Shweta, any thoughts?
I fully agree with what you shared, Nathan. Maybe I'll just add one more piece
Mhm.
to Pratik's question, which is uh, with what's the end goal that we're trying to achieve. When you're talking about the disruption phase, right? There's, everybody's talking about, finding the next drug that is completely, through the implementation of Gen AI. These are some of these very, groundbreaking, disruptive um, use cases and end goals that organizations have. I still will go back to saying that in order to make that a reality, and make that end goal a reality, the way that we work, it's going to have to be first building the trust in the system, right? It's not just about can the technology do this? It is also going to be around, it's not just about can the technology do this, it's also going to be around how do we build the trust and do this in a much more measured way so that we can continue step by step.
Cool. Sounds good. Think one more question from Tony. Hopefully, healthcare AI startups like us can get access to MedLM and Vertex AI search for healthcare. So, Tony, we have a dedicated startups team. You can definitely reach out to them. I am aware that okay, few startups have already started exploring these technologies. So, yes, it's available to you. It just like go through that process, and hopefully that you will get access as soon as possible. Shweta, any use cases or any implementations that you have seen with startups?
We're seeing a lot of startups actually leverage here. Probably don't have, I'm looking also at the time, don't have time to go into all the details, but certainly great comment from Tony. Uh, the healthcare and life science startup ecosystem is certainly well engaged with our tools and solutions as well as with our teams. And so hopefully we will have avenues in order to get engaged as we move forward.
Sounds good. Cool. We are almost on the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. The recording will be available on YouTube, so you can go and view. If you still have any questions, any comments, please feel free to drop a note to our Google Cloud events team. And these are some of the resources that you can actually go that, yes, about community, about providing the feedback, and as well as for the future sessions. So definitely, this is one of the experiment that we ran for healthcare life sciences as one of the vertical, but a lot more to come. So thank you so much for joining us all, and have a great rest of the day and night. Thank you so much.